London is the city of landmarks. I'm going to tell you which ones are world class and which ones aren't quite. I love landmarks, and I've been to some of the most famous in the world. Inevitably, a few well-known attractions can be a bit disappointing. Let's see if that happens in London. Feel free to add your 2 cents, but remember, this list is subjective. Let's kick this off with a big one. We'll start with the Tower Bridge. The bridge was opened in 1894 to connect the City of London with Southwark. A walk across takes about 5 minutes, but you'll stop and take a lot of photos. The bridge was designed to complement the nearby Tower of London perfectly, and you can't take a bad photo from any angle. What's the name of this bridge?
It's London Bridge.
Thank you. Are you afraid of it falling down?
Yeah, no.
Don't talk to me about the Golden Gate. This is the most famous bridge in the world, and it is an icon.
Just go wherever they're...
If it's not obvious to you from the noise in the crowds, we're in Piccadilly Circus. Welcome to Piccadilly Circus, London's answer to Times Square. With tacky souvenir stores, tons of wandering tourists, and overpriced mediocre restaurants. As a bonus, there are hustlers on every corner trying to part you with your money. You'll enjoy persistent construction while you dodge heavy traffic. And it's just as mobbed at night. This place is overcrowded, overpriced, it's too loud. I don't even have to tell you, this is an eyesore. One thing that makes a landmark great is how important it is to a city's identity. Like St. Paul's Cathedral. St. Paul's Cathedral was built to be visible from most of London. The dome, designed by the great Christopher Wren, is one of the highest in the world. St. Paul's is in such an obvious and central location. When medieval Londoners crossed the Millennium Bridge, they knew exactly where to go. The cathedral has hosted some of the most historic events in England, including Charles and Diana's wedding and the funeral of Winston Churchill. It's also the final resting place of the Duke of Wellington and Horatio, Lord Nelson. The design inspired many other famous buildings, like the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. There are many more beautiful and famous cathedrals in Europe, but because of its importance to the London skyline, I'm going to call St. Paul's Cathedral icon. In 2012, the Shard pierced the London skyline. The Shard stands 309.6 meters tall with 72 floors and was designed by Italian Renzo Piano. Piano was inspired by the nearby train yards, church steeples, and sail masts. There are 3 restaurants and an observation level with great London views. The name of the Shard came from critics who said the building would be a shard of glass through the heart of historic London. The South Bank location makes it a bit removed from the London skyline proper. I must admit, I'm on the critic side on this one. I think this big modern glass building just doesn't fit with Southwark and its classic look. Maybe if it was in the financial district, it'd be better, but to me, the Shard is an eyesore. Sitting between 2 beautiful green spaces is London's royal residence, Buckingham Palace. The palace was built in stages starting in 1624, but it wasn't until 1761 that a British monarch finally took residence. The palace took its present appearance in 1913. There are some spectacular palaces in Europe. For example, Versailles, Schönbrunn in Vienna, and the Kremlin. But Buckingham Palace's appeal is less about opulence and more about its tradition, familiarity, and surroundings. The royal pageantry of the changing of the guards draws millions of tourists every year. And every important national celebration is centered on Pall Mall.
In spite of its lack of grandeur and style as compared to the other palaces of Europe, Buckingham Palace is a London institution and therefore it is an icon.
Well, you knew it was coming. Here's the London Eye. When it opened in the year 2000, the Eye was the world's largest Ferris wheel. Not surprisingly, with over 3 million visitors annually, it is the #1 paid tourist attraction in the United Kingdom. That will be evident to you with all the tourist traps and scams that surround the Eye. And for the price you pay for just a half-hour ride, I just don't think it's worth it.
You might think I don't like the London Eye, but I just don't like paying 42 quid to ride it. I think it's a very important part of the London skyline, and it looks great from places like here on the Embankment and from Green Park. So, surprisingly enough, I'm calling London Eye an icon. I'm not gonna lie to you, I came to Trafalgar Square at the wrong time, but that is one of the problems with this place.
Trafalgar Square is a public square that was established in the early 19th century. It's named for the Battle of Trafalgar, the British Navy's greatest victory. But the day I filmed was like a lot of days at Trafalgar Square. There were music stages, scaffolding, and security gates that obscured just about everything that was interesting to look at in the square. And this is typical. It seems like every weekend there's an event from Chinese New Year to the Christmas markets that just totally take over Trafalgar Square. And that's too bad, because between St. Martin's in the Field and the National Portrait Gallery, and especially Nelson's Column, there's a lot that you'd want to see here. A great example is the fantastic view of Big Ben.
Trafalgar Square is not like any other kind of public plaza that you see in Europe. There's not a lot of cafes, it's very loud, there's a lot of buskers, and it's very crowded. So I'm not going to deny the icon status of Nelson's Column or the National Portrait Gallery, but as a whole, Trafalgar Square is an eyesore. London has an absurd amount of stadiums, but nobody can argue that this is the most renowned of them all.
This and the original Wembley Stadium, which stood in the same site, are England's national stadium. The original Wembley Stadium stood from 1923 to 2000. Wembley has hosted Olympic Games, World Cups in both football and rugby, stock car racing, horse shows, and NFL. And of course, Wembley hosted Live Aid in 1985, one of the greatest concerts in history. Since the turn of the century, the new Wembley has carried on the tradition of world-class music and sporting events. The fact that Wembley kept its name and resisted using a corporate sponsor as its identity is crucial to it continuing to be arguably the world's most famous stadium.
Wembley's modern look is definitely a far cry from its classic predecessor, but for name recognition, this is definitely an icon. If you watch my Fitzrovia video, then you're pretty familiar with the BT Tower.
London is a fairly flat city that doesn't have a lot of skyscrapers, so an observation tower could be quite popular. The BT Tower was originally a communications tower, but there was also a revolving restaurant at the top. But the restaurant was permanently closed in 1971 due to an IRA bomb. And that's the problem with the BT Tower. When you think of all the things like the Eiffel Tower or the Seattle Space Needle or the Osaka Tower, all of them are beautiful structures in addition to the views they give. But the BT Tower is now just a bland silver tube. And the entrance is so underwhelming, you need to look up or you wouldn't even know you're at the tower.
For a landmark that is so tall and visible, there's not a whole lot of people that talk about or even know about the BT Tower. And that's because it's closed. You can't go up there. So what good is it as an observation tower? I don't think it's really that aesthetically pleasing either. So I'm going to call the BT Tower an eyesore. In my opinion, there's two landmarks in London that are so compelling you just can't take your eyes off of them. One is the Tower Bridge, and the other is Big Ben.
The crowds of admirers you see stretching from Westminster Cathedral all the way to the end of Westminster Bridge are perfectly understandable. You just can't get a bad picture of this wonderful building, no matter what angle you're coming from. Everyone knows that Big Ben is actually the clock tower's bell, but do you know the name of the tower? Tell me in the comments below. From 2017 to 2021, scaffolding robbed millions of visitors the chance to enjoy the tower. But the refurbishment resulted in its stunning return to glory.
So the secret place to get the best picture of Big Ben is at the end of the bridge, right down there.
This Instagrammable shot is great day or night.
The world's most famous landmarks are the pyramids, the Great Wall of China, the Eiffel Tower, the Taj Mahal, and Big Ben. Of course it's an icon. I'm at one of my favorite landmarks, the Abbey Road crossing, and I want to thank you for watching the video today. If you got something out of it, please like, share, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see your comments to this one. I'll see you in London. Cheers.